So last week I put a video blog up talking about dating violence prevention for male athletes. And I got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of good questions. There are a couple of questions that were sent in. I have 4 of them that I wanted to answer in another blog because I thought that they were the types of things that a lot of kids would probably be wondering. Specifically, it was in the context of this idea of consent, when it means that a girl is saying, okay, I do want to do this. And I was explaining that even though there's state-to-state differences in the law, that if a girl is unconscious, if she's drunk, passed out, or under the influence of drugs, and if she is unable to say yes or no because she's afraid that if she says no, something might happen to her, all of these things contribute to whether or not someone can give consent. And so one of the questions that one of the young men sent in was, he wanted to know, well, why can't the boy say that he was drunk too? If the male and the female are both drunk, why is it, if they have sex and they both want to, that he is at risk for being arrested for rape and she is an innocent victim in this? Again, it depends on the state laws, but in the general rule, the person who is putting something into a body of another person is seen as the perpetrator. So, if the boy is engaging in sexual act with a woman and he's penetrating her, it doesn't matter whether or not he's giving consent. It's the consent of the recipient that matters. Okay? So that's one issue. The next question that came up, it's a good question, was, are there sex contracts that athletes can have that will somehow protect them? And this is a novel idea, but it's not brand new. Agents have considered this for a while, and they call them sex contracts. It's a nice idea, but they don't work. And you know why they don't work? Why would anybody not appreciate the fact that if I want someone to have sex with me and I'm already intimidating her and she's scared, that I can force her to sign that contract? So it's a nice idea that you might be able to lay out what the issues are, and she says, yes, I'm fine with all this, but the fact of the matter is that it does not change the fact that she might be signing it just because she's scared. Nice idea, but I wouldn't rely on it. Next question was, what if she texts me that she wants to do this or says something about it on Facebook? All right, guys, social media is off the hook. You don't want any of this stuff being played out there. Number one, people do a lot of things in these venues in order to try to pump up their chest and help their reputation. People lie. They say things that they don't mean. Sexuality is a very important thing. It's a beautiful thing to share. But you want to make sure you know exactly where you are on these things. You want to be able to have a conversation and do this with people that you respect. You don't want there to be added opportunity for confusion, and you certainly don't want an audience when you're doing this. So I would say if she's saying all of these things in text, Facebook, I wouldn't count it for anything. You want that conversation to happen in person. Okay? The last question, which was really more of an observation, was a young man says, I think there are some girls who are more sexually aggressive than boys these days. Why? Well, it's a good question. It's a sad state of affairs. I think that one of the reasons why is that sex is not seen as important. It's not something valued. And some of that is media's fault. That, you know, lower and lower and lower kids are seeing sexual acts on TV and in movies, and it confuses them. They're not necessarily emotionally mature enough to be ready to understand sexuality. So that's kind of the big picture. If you think of it this way, if sex was a currency, it would be as valuable as $1 these days. Not much. So I think that one of the reasons why you see girls that are very sexually aggressive is because, A, they see that this is a way to be popular. Certainly not all girls, but the girls that are sexually aggressive, some of them, they see it as a way to be popular, and they don't see any concerns that this is going to somehow really hurt who they are as a person. They don't understand that what it means to have integrity and not just sharing this with anyone. It could be confusing because for a lot of guys that are taught by their older brothers and TV, they're saying, hey, everything's about going to get laid, and now you have girls that are chasing after you more aggressively than you could ever imagine. It's confusing. But I would say to any of you young men that are finding yourself in this situation that will probably be tempted to take advantage of these opportunities, make sure that you are giving consent. The idea that a man can't be raped, it sounds crazy because men think that they're always sex hungry and they want it all the time. But the idea that you could be doing something that you really don't want to, that exists as well. Two people should be coming to the table. both giving consent, both knowing that this is what they want to do. And if they're in agreement and they're old enough to understand what that's all about, okay, fine. If you're not sure, wait until you are.